And I think if you go through what I went through and you do the steps that I did, you can get the same results as me every time.
Welcome to the Author Like a Boss podcast, the podcast for indie authors who want to improve their writing, up-level their marketing, make money with their books, and have fun doing it. Now, onto the show with your host, Ella Barnard.
Hello, everybody. This is Ella from Author Like a Boss, and I am here today with Jessica Schmidt. She is an amazing author who is just who's raising her eyebrows like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are really excited to be able to talk to her today. So, Jessica, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your writing journey?
Yeah. So I am 22 and I've grown up my whole life in Louisville, Kentucky. And let's see, I started writing when I was 15. Seriously, it was like, I started writing fan fiction, which is kind of embarrassing, but also I kind of represent that now. Like I like the fact that I started with fan fiction because I've actually met a lot of authors that started that same way. It was like, you have ideas based on, like, I wrote Pokemon fan fiction. So you have ideas based on something you like, and then I just wanted to make a story about it. Oh, look, there's a kitty. Sorry.
I warned you.
So I used to write that, and I had a lot of fans. What my style with writing fan fiction ended up being, like, where people started to like my writing, is that I wrote very, very unique, strange plot lines compared to what everyone else was writing. Pokemon's a video game, so everyone was kind of writing a story as if they were the main character in the video game going through the plot. And I was writing stories with real, like, plots, like actual fantasy stories that just happened to have Pokemon involved. So it was very unique and different. And I always had people telling me, like, wow, your fan fictions are so different. And I never would have thought about it this way, or I never would have, like, seen this way. So I had like tons and tons of fans on there. And then, then I was like, I started branching off so much that I realized I wasn't even writing fan fiction anymore. I was writing what I wanted to write. And so then I was like, I guess I should try to write a book. Like, I guess I should try to come up with a fantasy world and write a novel. So I did. And that's where my first book came from. Actually, the very first book I tried to write is the one that I just published. And, it took me, I started world building about 4 years ago, and started writing the book. I got like a third of the way through, and my mom committed suicide in the middle of that. And so that was really hard for me. She'd only gotten to read the first third of it, but she, like, loved the book, but then she couldn't read any more of it. So it kind of made me not want to write anymore. Like, what's the point of writing or living or whatever at the time? So, and that was a dark period of my life that took me, a good year and a half to get over. And then, but you never get over it, but I know what I mean. Where I am now.
Yes.
So then starting last spring was when I was like, hey, I have this, 1/3 of a book written that I really liked and that I'd world built and that I knew the plot and I knew the whole trilogy. And I was like, why am I not writing this? I should get back to it. And so I sat down and I wrote it and finished it, finished the manuscript in August and finished all the edits and stuff in like October of last year. And then I started on my marketing journey, and that's a whole nother thing that I'm sure we'll get into in a minute. But, and then the book just came out, about 2 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago tomorrow is when the official release date was.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Pretty exciting. Thank you.
What do you think that there is anything about, and I'm so sorry about your mom. Do you think there is anything about that experience that prompted you or motivated you after the dark time?
Yeah, definitely. Because I could have written any story. I mean, I hadn't touched, Ember is the name of my book. I hadn't touched Ember in, over a year. And so I had like, I always have story ideas that I think of that I write down or that I sketch out a plot or whatever. But, and I had several that I like kind of started writing and stopped writing. But the reason I picked up Ember specifically, my mom loved it when she read it. She always was a big fan of Lord of the Rings, and like Star Wars and stuff like that. So it's very much got a Lord of the Rings feel to it. That type of epic fantasy, and just, knowing that it was something that she liked that I could finish was a big motivator for me, a big push for me. And it still is, because it's, it's only the first in a trilogy. I got 2 more coming. So it's a big, I don't know. It just, the fact that she wanted me to do it was a push for me.
Yeah.
I always find myself starting things and not finishing them. So for me to start and finish something was very important because of my mom. So
that's really, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because
Thank you.
That's not easy. So as part of the completing and, finishing things, do you have a writing ritual? And if so, what is it?
So I started writing, like people say they call it pantsing, off the seat of your pants.
Mm-hmm.
And I started writing that way because I didn't know any better. I started writing, and so I was like, outlining, that sounds like work. That sounds like stuff I had to do in my English classes. I don't want to outline. So I would just but I would have the story in my head kind of outlined, but I would just go with it. So Ember actually almost in its entirety is written is in a pantsing style, where I just kind of sat down and would just try to push out words every day and see where it goes. And, the characters just kind of did and said things, and it actually worked out really well. And there's a lot of really good character development. And I was really surprised, because then after I actually finished Ember, I bought a book called Take Off Your Pants, which is about outlining. And I just bought it on the whim and was just reading about it. And this author has a wonderful outlining method that it's not a strict outlining method, because I know a lot of people don't like to plan every exact thing that happens. They kind of just like to see what happens. But it was a outlining of growth and development in your story, and an outlining of theme. So it just makes sure that your story has a theme and a full plot in each story, and that feels complete. So, and I went back through, when I saw this outlining method, I went back through and I actually filled out the little blanks, because she gives you a template and everything that she had with Ember.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, good. I made all the bases. I did all the things. But then, so now I've taken that outlining method, and what I'm doing because this next novel in the series is called Pyre, and I have almost all of my character arcs outlined in that way, and the theme outlined in that way. So I feel, I haven't started writing it yet, but I feel like having that written is going to expedite the process tremendously, because a lot of what I struggled with when I was pantsing was, where's the plot going? Getting writer's block and stuck with, where's this? How am I going to move from this scene to this scene? And with this method, you don't have that, because every scene has a purpose, and every character has an arc, and there's negative arcs and positive arcs and character development. It's just a whole thing. So as far as my writing ritual goes, it used to be just, I would just sit down and try to write stuff, but I don't think I could ever go back from this outlining method now that I have it, because it just makes so much sense. And it really makes, from what I was reading, and I read a couple books of hers, the stories just feel complete. And that's, it's most important to have a story that feels complete, regardless of whether or not the character gets what they want or not, as long as their development is complete. If that makes sense. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit.
No, it's good.
The thing about her outlining method is it is so flexible. You can choose to outline as much or as little as you want, as long as you have there's 5 basic components or something. So there's never, and I know my personality, so I honestly don't understand how I ever wrote Ember like I did without outlining, because I am so meticulous, and everything has to be in order. And so I think finding this method where I could fill in, blanks with these general concepts, and then go back in as I'm writing and fill them in with everything going on in my head. I don't know, that it was just, it made things so much easier for me. But I've never once felt like my imagination is stunted, because so much of what you're filling in, you have to use your imagination. You have to, all the little plot holes and stuff that I was filling up, all of that, you have to figure out why. And that's the hardest part for me, is why are things happening. So so that's, imagination is not stunted. Definitely not.
Yeah. I think that's something that people worry about, but the way I like to think of it, because I'm crafty. So I've done a little bit of quilting. And so quilting, there's the rules for quilting. You want the complete quilt at the end, and you have to attach things, but within the rules, you can pick whatever colors you want. You can do the design that you want, but in the end, you want to end up with a quilt. but
Right.
like a complete quilt. And so that's what I have when writing. I just think I do better with the basic rule, like the format or the outline in place, because then I don't have to worry about the basics. I'm just like, I don't have the blank page. Like, now what do I do? Writer's block. It's like, I know the basics. I know what's coming next, and I can do whatever I want to with that.
Right.
You have a really unique story. I'm going to move from the writing because unique or admirable story. Okay. So, I found you in a Facebook group, and
which one again? I don't remember. Was it the 20 to 50K?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. You really, you wrote this very inspiring post, and you're like, I'm not bragging, I'm inspiring. And
that one
was inspiring. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. And so you had over $1,000 on pre-order for your book, Ember.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm going to ask you about that. It's okay. So what did you start with, and how did you get to that? How did that happen?
So that I'm going to start from the beginning with that, because everyone keeps asking me that. I get that question all the time. Like, how did you do it? And it's broad.
Yeah.
That's a very broad question. I did a lot of things, and a lot of things were failures. But the things that I'm glad that I had those failures, because the things that were the failures, I feel like I'll be able to refine my process next time, and it'll just get more efficient. So let's see. I started with the very first thing I started with when I finished my book in October is I was like, how am I going to tell people about my book? I guess I should get a website. So I designed my own website. I started blogging because I read that, having content, people will find your website organically. So I began that way. I started a mailing list. I had about 30 people on my mailing list. I didn't know how to build it. They were like friends and family that I was like, here, join my mailing list on Facebook. I then created my Ember Twitter account and Facebook page, which I used in conjunction with each other, and I would like share posts from the other ones, and then I used those platforms to get my blog posts out. So then I started paying for Facebook ads that would get traffic to my Facebook page. So like the ads I was paying for weren't to get subscribers, they were just to get likes on my Facebook page. And then I would share blog posts that I'd written on Facebook and always direct people back towards my website. And I did the same thing with Twitter. I used Twitter links and directed people to my website. But the whole goal of that was to build my mailing list, because as I started digging around for what the best way as an author can communicate with their audience in today's day and age is the mailing list without exception. So then I was like, well, shoot, like, how am I going to build this? So I took the first 3 chapters of Ember because I didn't have anything free to give away as an opt-in. So I created a PDF and I put that on my website, and I had a little like pop-up box that was like, you want to read the first 3 chapters? Sign up with your email. And that like doubled my enrollment rate for my subscribers. All of a sudden, that would pop up when someone was reading a blog post, and they were like, I would post about my characters, or I would post about world building. I'd post about character creation, and people were just like, oh, cool, I want to read this author's stuff and see, what they did with these skills they were talking about. So then I started really accumulating subscribers, but I didn't have anything to sell. So when I started, and then I started joining Facebook groups, kind of like the 20 to 50K, a couple other ones that I was in, and I would talk about my mailing list, and people were like, oh, how many books do you have published? And I'm like, I don't have anything. What do you mean? I don't have anything published. And they were like, well, how are you getting subscribers without published material? That's unheard of. No one ever gets subscribers unless they have stuff they can give people. And I was like, I blog like once every couple weeks, and I am really honest and forthcoming with my like few subscribers that I have. When I send out a newsletter, I like send out pictures of my animals, and like, and they look for everyone. Like my open rate was like really high, which was unusual because I had very, very original sounding like taglines in my emails, and I had my emails weren't trying to sell them anything, which was a huge thing. So for months, I did not try to sell my subscribers a single thing. I just gave them free stuff. I commit art, and I would just send them free artwork of my characters. I would write a short story and send it to them just for free, just for kicks. And it just like, I built this relationship, and I had so much response too. I mean, just for the few I had. And then I joined my first giveaway, which Russell Nohelty, I think is how you pronounce his last name, is another author on Facebook that's kind of become my mentor. And I credit a lot of my success to him because he kind of took me under his wing. He let me join this mailing list builder, even though he usually doesn't let people join builders unless they have a certain number of subscribers. But he said that my willingness to work and my excitement about it and how much I'd already been doing, he said that really showed spunk or whatever. So he let me join it. And I ended up that builder ended up giving me 4 or 5, I think it was 4,000 new emails.
Wow.
That I integrated. And then, when you do a giveaway like that, you usually get a fall off of about a quarter of those people are just entering for the freebie that was given away. But then I was able to it was a Neil Gaiman giveaway. So it was fantasy type thing. So I was really able to have that, targeted audience now that was in my mailing list. So then I started really doing a lot of research about newsletter structure and what you should include and how to get a conversion rate. And I was just building that relationship. I started my DBA,
doing business as.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I'm trying to think of the acronym name. Cause I didn't want to publish under my own name. I wanted to publish under, something that sounded more formal. And so I did a lot of branding research and who I wanted to model my brand after, and came up with my publishing house name, Owl Griffin Press, which comes from, there is a goddess in one of my books that is an owl griffin. So it came from that, but also an owl griffin. It speaks to fantasy people. The logo is really neat. I don't know if you're going to share pictures or whatever under this when you post it, but I'll give you a picture of the logo. The logo is really cool. I had it designed. And so I started being in more of these builders, and accumulating more emails, more thousands of emails. Every time I would send my welcome email, it was welcome to the Griffin's nest. And that tagline has gotten me almost double the open rate of any author that I'm in these giveaways with.
Really?
Because yes, when I joined that Neil Gaiman giveaway, and I shared my tagline in my click-throughs, which are all stats that you see in your mailing list, because we would all share and excited, be oh, I got this many clicks, blah, blah, blah. And I was sharing my stats, and other authors that had 5 or 6 books out or had been in the game for years, they were what are you doing? How are you getting these open rates? And and I was I don't know. I did some research and I come up with some stuff in my DBA, and I'm telling them all the same stuff I'm telling you, and trying to teach these authors that are way ahead of me in the game what I'm doing. And I actually had an author use a similar tagline to me. I was welcome to the Griffin's nest, and she was welcome to the Dragon's den or something. And it helped. And she was wow, thank you so much for giving me that. And, it's just having that unique sounding tagline that doesn't sound like another author going, welcome to my newsletter. It made people want to click, and the fantasy element to it and everything really got my subscribers into it. So now that's my go-to. Anytime I get new emails, I'm in 2 builders right now. I've done 3 more before. My mailing list is 12,000 people right now. And it's just continuing to grow. Every single time I get these new subscribers, that's my go-to email list. And it gets me, the turnover rate I get is phenomenal. And so having that and having built that before my, first book came out, which, again, was 2 weeks ago. That's how I did the pre-order. That when I have these people that I've built 3 and 4 month long, really intimate relationships with, where I respond to every single email they send me, and I respond every social media comment I get, I respond. And that genuine interaction with people felt like they owed it to me, which I didn't want them to feel like they owed it to me, but I was told you've done so much, and you've given me all this, and you send me these funny videos, and you give me I create infographics all the time on the website called Canva, which is phenomenal, where I talk about grammar usage and stuff. And I'll just make, I'll find a grammar thing that I'm struggling with. And then I'll go through and I'll do 20 or 30 minutes of research, and I'll make a bullet little spreadsheet, because that's how I take notes. And then I'll go through and I'll turn my notes into a pretty little infographic, and I'll just send it to my subscribers. And it's no extra work on my part, because it was already studying that I was going to do. But just that, and it's free. And so they're oh, you're giving me free stuff. And I'm yeah, I'm sharing my knowledge with you, which I guess is valuable. But so then I opened up early to my family before I actually opened. Can you hear that screeching? Or is that
It's totally fine. Did you guys? Everybody, sure Jessica has a parrot.
Yes, I'm sorry. He doesn't like me over here ignoring him. I had to put him back in his cage because he was trying to fly over here. Anyway, where was I? Lost my train
Is
of
the
thought.
parrot part of is the parrot part of the inspiration for the griffin? You're like owl, griffin, parrot.
No.
It's not an eagle. It's not an eagle head. It's a parrot head.
Yeah. I did want. I wanted something unique, and the goddess is actually the goddess of fall. So I thought it's a barn owl griffin. Yeah. So I thought that, I don't know.
I'm giving you a hard time. I wanted to ask you something. So
yes. Yeah.
What is the mail? What are you saying? Mail serve? No. What were you saying with the
the mailing list server?
Yes.
That I use?
Yes.
Okay.
What is this list building? What is it that you're using for the list building? Because you're using this term.
So everyone's like MailChimp. MailChimp is the god of mailing lists right now, is what I hear. I have never touched MailChimp. I'm probably going to start using it in the future once it's worth it to me and I have more books out and I'm really monetizing this author thing. But I built my website myself through a website called Wix, which is like the easiest to use, best website builder I've ever used. I've designed websites for a couple of my friends now. They always look amazingly professional. But Wix has an integrated mailing list server in their software. So you can just add a subscriber form to your website, and then Wix keeps track of all your contacts and all your subscribers and everything in a neat little list. You can use tags, you can sort people, and it's got all the same integrated things as MailChimp. And I think MailChimp has a few other extra features that come in handy when you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But the difference is MailChimp, for the amount of subscribers I have, is a little. I think it's over like $200 a month.
Yeah. I don't know if MailChimp. I think it's I don't know if MailChimp is just for me and you. I don't think MailChimp might be. I would do some more research on before going in with MailChimp. It's more expensive. I have an author that I know, and she was started with MailChimp because it's free. So it's nice for a lot of people to start. It
starts free if you have under 50 subscribers or something.
It's like under like 1,000 subscribers or something like this. So it's not
so something really small.
But not. But it's more expensive. Anyways, we're getting into so you're using the Wix. They have their own plugin or something that you use to send emails out to people.
Yes.
Wix.
So Wix is half of their benefit really is the mailing list thing. I mean, it's an entire their own mailing list server. The way that you can create the emails is beautiful. They don't look like regular emails. They look like postcards or something you can send people. It's really in depth.
But
sorry,
what I wanted
trying to look up MailChimp's pricing. So
no, it's okay. No, you don't have to
compare.
We don't have to. But there's
Wix is only $45 a month for what I have right now.
MailChimp's is going to be a lot more.
Yes,
and there's other ones that might not be more that might be useful. I will.
Yeah, there's MailerLite and a few other ones.
But I wanted wanted to ask you about is where you're building your list with these giveaways.
Yes,
with. This author who took you under his wing. What happens in that?
Yeah, so those are they're mailing list builder giveaways specifically. So what the core of them is that people sign up for your mailing list by entering the giveaway. So they have to give you your email to enter to win this thing. They consent when they're giving you their email to having their email distributed to every author involved in the giveaway. So they have to click a box and say, I consent in my email. So it's it's illegal. They're not they all know they're signing up for our mailing list. And then we get, I've started running them with him now actually, cause I've done so many with him. But we get about 25 or 26 different authors together, that want to, enter the giveaway, and then they purchase they pay $40 to get into this giveaway. So all 25 authors pay $40. Half of that money goes towards buying a prize, and half of the money goes towards ad spend. And so we really, we pick a theme giveaway. So the two I'm in right now are Star Wars, and I'm in a Once Upon a Time giveaway, the TV show. And then I did a Lord of the Rings one that was super successful. And then the Neil Gaiman one that I was in, and then I was in another one, and I honestly can't remember what it was.
What are you giving away?
We'll go and yeah, so we're going to use like half the money. And like for the Lord of the Rings one, for example, we bought the Hobbit trilogy Blu-rays, the Lord of the Rings trilogy in Blu-ray, the extended version. We bought a signed, or not signed, it was like a hardback special edition copy of the Lord of the Rings trilogy book, but like it was all three in one. So it was like a big, thick hardback. And then like an illustrated Lord of the Rings, an original copy of The Hobbit, like just all, it's like, it's several $100s in prizes that are all directly Lord of the Rings themed. And so you take those prizes and then you like list them, and then he creates like infographics and stuff of like what the prizes look like. And then the other half of the money goes towards ad spend. So we create like 2 or 3 different Facebook ads and like split test them against each other for like the first half of the week. And then the second half of the week, we dump the rest of the money into the most successful ad. And then basically that ad takes you directly to the sign up page. And one of the rules of the giveaway is that if you are an author and you join, you have to send out 2 emails about the giveaway to your mailing list, one on the first day and one of the last few days. And then, so, every author that's in the giveaway, part of their mailing list is going to sign up. So you're basically sharing your mailing lists, but then also all the money going into it is going towards those Facebook ads, which are getting brand new subscribers for everybody. So it really, I mean, it's pretty genius.
Yeah.
I would never, that's the number one way I have built my mailing list is through these giveaways like that. And it's, $40 for 5,000 new subscribers, which is what we're hitting each time. I've built, and my 12,000 person mailing list that's after all the unsubscribes. Those are 12,000 engaged opening subscribers that I have. Yeah. So that's
I want to point out and just emphasize for people that Jessica's also, the way that she's maintaining that mailing list is because she's really engaging with them. Like some people, like that's the key point. Cause I know a lot of people are nervous about doing giveaways and then having that huge unsubscribe.
Yes. And that's a huge thing. And people, and especially Wix actually won't punish you for that, as much, but,
But you can mitigate the unsubscribes by just really loving on and being generous with your list. And
it's really in that first email that I was talking about, that very first email that I send out to everybody, where I welcome to the Griffins nest, and I like include like what's going to actually be in all my newsletters and stuff. That's the most important email you're going to send is that very first email, because that's when they're going to say, do I unsubscribe or not? You get all of your unsubscribes from that very first email, and then the rest, if there's any other fall off, it's not because they didn't want to be on your mailing list. It's, they're getting too many emails or whatever.
What do you put into your welcome email? Like, what is in that first email that you send people?
Yeah. So, I do a, hey, everybody, welcome to my mailing list type thing at the beginning. And then I always make sure that I bullet point exactly what is going to be in my mailing list from now on. So like, when you tell them what they're going to expect. So, from my mailing list, you can expect to see these 6 things. And I start with a couple that are like free this, free that I send everybody, free videos of my animals. And then like towards the bottom, I'll put like, deals whenever my books go on sale, or information about my stuff. Cause they don't care about you yet. They don't care about what you're doing. They just want to know, what free stuff am I going to get out of this? What knowledge am I going to learn? So I tell them, that I blog about these things, and that I, any giveaway that I'm doing, they can enter into the giveaways, and because I always share the ones that I'm in. And then, and then I always include like a teaser. So I'll be like, I always send them the first 3 chapters of my book, which is my email opt-in for my website, because I want to make sure they have that same opportunity. Sorry, what?
Yeah, I just said, ooh. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you just send that in the email, or is it an attachment, or they can go download it?
It's an attachment. So okay. Wix has a really, really efficient way that you can do your email attachments, and you can just upload the document to Wix's website itself, and then you can put a button, they call it, on your email that takes them to a PDF download page. So like you can click it, and it takes them to the PDF online.
Yeah.
And they can download that to their computer if they want.
Yeah.
So what I did at first when I was doing that before my book was out was I had it was just a PDF of what had been edited and what I had. Then after my book came out, I changed the PDF and I put a big picture of my book cover, which is pretty.
It is very pretty. People, this is going to be, her book cover is going to be on the website, and you need to go look at it because it is beautiful. Okay.
It's pretty great. But I always put that at the I always put that in the welcome email. This is my book that just came out or that is coming out. And here is, and if they click on that, that'll also take them to the first 3 chapters. But then in the PDF, I have the picture and then the writing and then the picture again. And I used Canva again to make another infographic where you can put a link into like a PDF, like words. Yeah, an image. And so and at the very, very end, there's another picture of it. And it says, you can get Ember on Kindle, read free now on Kindle Unlimited, blah, blah, blah. Here's the website. And they can click that straight from the PDF. So that prevents me from having to be like, how'd you like it? Go buy my book right after. If they liked it, they can immediately go buy it. But I do still, after about a week, I will send a follow-up email that says, hey, if you didn't read the first 3 chapters, here's the first 3 chapters again, in case you missed that email or in case you didn't see it or in case something came up and you didn't get a chance to remind them about it. But I never, I don't like it. I never come out straight to them and ask, did you read it? Did you like it? Tell me what you liked about it, because I feel like that's harassment, to people, because if people didn't want to read it, they don't want their second email getting from you to be, how'd you like the thing I made you read? So because sometimes I won't read stuff authors send me. So it's like, hey, in case you didn't read this yet, here it is again. But I'm never going to ask people, what did you think? Or because people if people want to tell you what they think, they will email you. And I get emails from people all the time. Oh, I loved it. I didn't like this. Here's this thing I didn't like. It's not for me. I love this. I'm going to show it to my kid. I'm going to buy 5 copies. Like, but just, I feel like it's almost like badgering people because I am on every author's mailing list that I know. I try to join them just so I can learn and like read them and, occasionally buy a book and be supportive. But I hate when I join a new author, like a new comic book authors especially do this. We'll send you like 5 new comics. They'll send you, here's 5 free comics in the first email. And I might like glance through one, but I'm not going to sit and read all 5 of them if I don't have time. Then their next like 3 emails are like, what'd you think of my comics? Did you like my comics? Are you going to buy them? What do you want to hear? Tell me what you like. And I'm like, dude, like if I'm going to read them, I'm going to read them. If I'm not, then I'm not. But I mean, but it would make me want to read them more if they're like, if they said, here's my favorite of the 5 I sent you. If you didn't read any of them, make sure you read this one. Something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all in the wording. It's all in the wording. People are really psychologically, like people don't want to be forced to do things.
No. And they don't like, there's a kind of desperate energy. That's like, I think one of the things that's really hard for authors when they're starting to market is separating, like, I want to sell to you from I just want to engage with you. Like it's so much like without the expectation of some kind of action taken at the end. Like you're like, it's like inviting
it's like doing
somebody,
a favor and expecting a favor in return. Like that's not what a favor is then.
No. Yeah. It's like, it's not a, you're not giving something. It's not a gift and it's not free if you expect something in return.
Exactly.
Right. It's not
exactly.
It's not a free 3 chapters if you expect something in return. It's not a gift. It's I gave this to you, now you owe me back. And nobody likes
now you
that.
have to buy my book.
Yeah. Nobody likes that.
And that'll alienate people. What I read for a good engagement rate, you're supposed to, send out 4, it's like 4-to-1 ratio of engagement and free things to buy my thing. Like you don't want, if I post on Facebook 5 times today, one of them might say, not even trying to get them to buy. One of them might be like, here's my friend that just got my book, and I'll like post a picture of it and I'll be like, hey, if you haven't gotten your copy yet, here's the link. But I'm never like, if you haven't bought my book, go buy it now. Why haven't you bought it yet? Like, don't push people. People don't like to be pushed. They like to be guided.
Yeah. And they like to be, and we are in an amazing time with social media where you can actually like befriend the people on your list. So they're not buying from an author they don't know. They're not buying a book and being sold to by somebody who's like from salesy author. They're buying from the friend that they've made because you've really been engaging them and giving them fun stuff. And they're like, this is my friend J.E. Schmidt. Like she has a book now.
And that 2 things about that. One, you really want to make sure in marketing that you're interacting with people on more than one level every day. So like if they see you're on your email and also they're friends with you on Facebook and also they're on your Twitter and they see 3 things from you in a day, it's that psychological reminding that, oh yeah, this person exists and they have a book and maybe I should check it out. And also, I think I just lost my second thing I was going to say.
It'll come back. I wanted to ask you, do you have while you're thinking of that, do you have your email set up automation? Like, do you have an automated sequence?
Yes, I have an automated sequence for anyone that subscribes.
Yeah.
So if you yourself go and subscribe, you'll get my automated sequence. If you enter a giveaway, I do that manually. So that I have a special set of emails that I use for my giveaway enterers that you have to edit it, hey, you're getting this email because you found me through entering this such and such giveaway on this date, sorry you didn't win, or hey, you're the winner, or here's the winners. We usually like to tell people the winner's name so, they know that we're actually giving the prize out. And then I'll like explain blah, blah, blah. And then usually another thing I do is the very first thing I do is I say, if you don't want to be on my mailing list, there's a subscribe button at the very bottom of this page. I always put my subscribe button at the very bottom of my email. And then I make sure I have a big giant picture of my book cover right before you get to the end of the email, because people stop and look at it and they're like, because my book cover, I want to talk about book covers eventually.
Okay.
But my book cover has sold me half of my books. I mean, at least like just the cover. People are like, wow, this cover is beautiful. I'm not even going to read it. I just want it on my bookshelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that. Cause I think a lot of authors I find, tell me if you have noticed this, they want the book cover to be a visual representation of the story that they've written. They're like, but she has blonde hair and this girl on the cover has strawberry blonde hair. It's not the same. Like, there's a misunderstanding. I think like the book cover is a pure marketing tool. Like it is 100% marketing.
Yes.
So go ahead and talk a little bit about your book cover.
Yeah. And I think another thing people do is they don't understand the importance. And I did not. I'm going to tell a little anecdote, but I did not understand the importance of the book cover when I first wanted it done. I was just like, how can I get the cheapest book cover I can that will still kind of represent what I want? And I actually have, and I don't know if I'm going to share it because I actually don't even remember the original artist's name. So it might be okay if I shared it, but I have the original book cover I had designed for Ember versus the one I have now. When I got it designed, something didn't feel right with me. I paid $80 for my first book cover and it was not good. I mean, it was very badly photoshopped, like poor design, stock images kind of just thrown on top of each other kind of thing. And I showed it to family and their reaction was, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh no, I was like, that's not the reaction I want. And I was on a Facebook group and I found Jennifer, who is my book artist, Jennifer Munswami, who is my cover artist that I love and will never use any other cover artist ever. And she had shared not only a set of 2 covers that she had done for an author, but like she turned them into GIFs. Like animated GIFs online, which is cool with an app. And I was like, wow, I was like, you did this is your art. This is amazing. And I said, can you take this book cover I have and turn it into that? And I like gave her the cover that I was given.
And she was like,
can you? Yeah. And she was like, can I be honest with you? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. She's like, I would not be able to save this. Like, you would need to just commission a cover from me. And I was like, okay. And I started doing research and man, her price, like it was super expensive, like way more than I thought it would be. And I got really lucky with the cover I got now because at the time when I met her, she was involved with a charity thing going on where she was giving, if you entered this charity, she was giving away a 50% off custom cover coupon that you could use. So I used that and my cover still came out to be $450.
Wow.
So it would have been $900 for the one I have now. But I mean, that cover is going to sell 10 times that amount in its lifetime, like of money, like that cover, it's priceless. Like you can't, like, I'm paying her for her services. I've already made that back.
Yeah.
Like you cannot overstate the importance of that, because if I would have tried to sell the exact same book with the cover that I originally had, I would have sold a quarter of the copies I have now. People would have looked at that and thought that's an amateur. The book I have now looks like it belongs on a shelf at Barnes & Noble. Like it's not, it doesn't look like I'm an indie author that made a book cover by myself, which is what the original cover looked like. So just, and learning from my mistakes, I didn't learn the second time, because then I did the same thing with editing and I hired an editor that edited my book for $100. and didn't actually edit my book at all. And I mean, I sent it, I was getting my book formatted through a different girl who is actually a professional editor, and she's going through formatting my book. And then she went through the first chapter, and she was like, here's these 3 pages of edits that I found. Have you had this book edited yet? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, it needs to be re-edited. She was like, this is not, you need, if you want it to be good, you need to have it. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just go through it one more time and I won't need to have it edited. But I mean, I'm so glad that I finally decided to just suck it up and pay for the edits, because if I hadn't, it wouldn't have read as professionally as it reads now. And a problem that we have in the indie author community is poorly done books, poorly covered books, poorly written books, poorly edited books. And it gives us a bad reputation. And so I didn't want that for my very first book. I didn't want that, oh, here's this author's very first novel they ever wrote, and it's bad. And there's spelling errors and grammar errors and, inconsistencies and stuff that I never would have caught in the first place. And that being my very first book, that's, if I got my name out there and people were like, oh, I want to buy one of this author's books, it's going to be the very first book people buy from me. And if that's the one and they read it and they hate it, 1, they're not going to buy any of the other books in the trilogy, and 2, they're probably not going to buy anything else from me at all.
Well, especially with a list of 12,000, did you say, when it came out? Because you're not launching your book to the 30 people who were on your list initially.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different situation, because you're like, there's only so many people that are going to see this first book.
Yes.
By the time you're launching it to 12,000 people, so you don't want it to be, less than awesome, because they're like, you're like, I've been engaging with you for 4 months, and all of a sudden now I'm going to give you this book, and they're like, oh,
wow, this is so disappointing. Yeah. And yes, exactly. I mean, that would have broke my heart, but I've had a lot of guidance, and I had a lot of help, and I have this great book cover, and I have an amazing editor, and all of these pieces had to come together for it to be what it is. And I did impress my mailing list. They were, people have already been emailing me about it and telling me how much they like it. And I mean, another thing that I have, just, side note in the book, is I have a friend of mine is an illustrator, and I had her do 10 black and white sketch pieces of the characters. And those are throughout the book. So I have character art in the book. So, cause I like reading a book where I can see a depiction of the author's vision. So that was really important to me. And a motivation for me, or inspiration for me to do that, was Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl's books, his kids' books, he illustrated them all. And even though his drawings were atrocious, I don't know if you've seen them. They're he's not a very good artist, but I loved them. They were creepy, and they were just kind of poorly done, but sketchy. And
you knew exactly what the BFG looked like.
Yes. And it had that feel to it. And so what I actually did is, my friend who's an artist is getting ready to work for Disney. Actually, she got her she went to art school, in some school in Alabama that's really, really hard to get into. And so all of the character art in my first book is Disney style. It's very I might have to get one and open it and show you, but all the characters are that whimsical look with the big eyes and the different proportioned body parts and stuff. So it's really neat looking. But I think I'm gonna do, for the next couple, I'm going to do different art styles for the next 2. So that's just something my readers they were super impressed. And in my first 3 chapters, you get to see 2 of those images in the first 3 chapters. So people, I have those in the PDF. So
I was like, people are going to want to see this, and people are going to want to see this who are listening. And so everybody, you guys, by the end of this podcast, she's going to share where to get on her mailing list, so you can see all of her art. You can see what she's doing on her newsletter, watch it, and be like, oh, I need to model myself after Jessica. And then, but come up with my own nest or den or what have you. But because we all.
And also the other thing about the Griffins nest thing is that it makes people feel like a community, because they're like, oh, I'm part of this group of people that are in this nest together, and they interact with each other. And I'm going to be opening a members area on my site where people can talk to each other about the book and stuff here in the next couple of months or so. So it's just that sense of community and actually knowing who I am is really important to people. So
social media has been magical for indie authors and for everybody, because there's no barrier between you and your reader. There's you're not 3 people away. You are 0 people. You're like, me? My reader. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just going to say there's, going traditional, it used to be the only way. And if you can do these things I'm doing now with your marketing, I mean, traditional publishers, they don't do much marketing for you. Like, you're doing a lot of the work anyway, even if you get signed by them. So if you have these skills, the only thing you're getting from them is maybe they're front loading some of the costs and they'll give you a $5,000 check up front, but you have to pay all that back. Like, that's not a bonus. That's a forward of your money.
Forward of your royalties.
So if you can just do what I'm doing, you don't have to, and traditional publishing takes so long and there's just so many hoops you have to jump through. If you can get through what I'm going through and learn these skills and have them forever, you won't need to do that. Like, it's not, unless you're going through, some giant publisher that's going to make you millions of dollars, there's almost no reason to not do it yourself anymore. Yeah. There really isn't.
How often do you email your list?
I used to do multiple times a week, but when you get on Wix, you have to make sure you have a certain limit of the amount of individual emails you can actually send each month. So now I do about once a week, no more than once a week. Because if I do, then I'll be using up too much of my email allotment that I have. So, and then I think the thing about it is once you get more subscribers where I'm actually going to have to upgrade to Wix's next level payment. One, it's still infinitely times cheaper than MailChimp. And two, I'll have the subscribers to make that valuable anyway. So it's going to pay for itself eventually once I have more books. And, I'm just at the tip of the iceberg right now with books because this is my very first book and everyone tells me, wait till you get your second and your third out. Wait till you see how much money you're going to make then. And I'm like, that seems like it's so far away. And I don't even know if I'm going to get through that. I think I am and I'm trying and, I just have a lot going on in my life right now. But, people are like, that's the gateway to making a living out of this is more books. And so I'm just getting there now for me.
Yeah. Or, and lots of other stuff because you are clearly have a natural knack for the marketing that not everybody has. And I kept
telling people, and I tell people all the time that, going on this journey the last few months has made me question whether or not I should write or I should be a marketing consultant for people and help people. Cause I am, and I wanted to talk about this on here. I am going to be creating a class, a several hours long recorded class that goes through literally each section of kind of what I talked about today and exactly how to do it, how I built my website, how I use my Wix thing, how to create a newsletter. I'm going to create a newsletter live and send it to people. But it's going to be 6 or 7 hours of recorded stuff that I'm going to make. I'm going to sell it starting probably in the middle of the summer.
Will people on your newsletter be getting notified about this or no?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay. So that's the way. Because I'm midsummer. That's a little ways away. So if you're interested, another smart way.
I would hope by midsummer I would have most of my second book done, so I could spend most of the time marketing this thing I'm talking about. But if you're on my mailing list, you're going to hear about all that too. So I think I have a lot of authors on my mailing list. I think authors are some of the biggest readers. So I think that is kind of a duo market there where saying to readers, here's how I became an author and here's how my very first book ever I broke even on my costs. And here's how my very first book ever I got a $1,300 pre-order. And things that sound unattainable. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, I think we're trying to wrap up, but I did, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on. It's going to come back. We're going to have to edit this out. Oh, okay. Sorry. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that, my results are typical. Most people, you read these books or you see authors that have these hundreds of thousands of dollars or, crazy. They get really lucky and they have this big break and they make it forever and they get a really good. There's an author right now. I don't know her name. She just came out with a really cool book that's the Children of Blood and Bone or something. She got a book signing deal and then a movie deal for her very first book. And it's really taken off and it looks amazing, but that's not a typical result. You're not, not everyone that writes a book is going to get a movie deal before the book's published, but my results are typical. What I did is attainable by anyone. And I am poor. I am a 22-year-old college kid working full-time and going to school full-time and trying to write full-time. And I, don't have a lot in my savings. I saved for years to be able to afford the editing and the cover costs and stuff that I paid up front. but I did it. And I have like I can do like a budget plan for people. Like I know a lot of authors are in my situation that want a book out, but they think they can't afford it. And I think if you go through what I went through and you do the steps that I did, you can get the same results as me every time. Like it's not like my results are like these crazy results that maybe you'll get them, maybe you won't. Mm-hmm. Like I've taken several classes now that are like, I did these things and I had a $30,000 pre-order. You can try it and you might get, none of that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I want people to know that it's doable. Like it's doable.
I think that's really powerful, because I was going to ask you, what advice would you give to others who want to be in your position? And I think you just answered that. But I know there's something going around. I don't know if it's going around right now, but where it's like there's only 40 successful indie authors, who are actually. Have you heard this? And I'm like,
no,
well,
I haven't heard that, but that's ridiculous.
I'm like 40. I'm like, well, one, it depends on what you're measuring as successful.
Okay, I was about to say that. What is successful? Successful for me is making a career. Successful for me is paying my bills with writing.
Yeah.
Because successful to me is being able to quit my job and be an author. Like that would be and I can't do that yet, but that's when I'll be like, I'm successful. I can make 30,000, even, the group we're in is 20 books to 50K, like how to make median American income with writing being an author. But for me, even just, I only make probably $30,000 a year. Like if I could make my normal income just from doing something I love, like that's successful for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you can define it. Like what is successful? Making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and being famous? Like that's not what that would be cool, but like that's not typical. Again, not typical. What I'm doing is typical and is attainable and is doable. And that's why I made that post in there where I was like, I'm posting this for inspiration, not to brag, because here's what I did. Here's exactly how I did it. And I did it. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you. So is that your advice? What is if that or any additional advice you have for people would be excellent? Yeah.
I mean, my number one advice is start marketing today. I don't care if you don't have a book out. If you don't have a book out and you're like, I'll worry about my mailing list later, don't, because you're not going to be able to build the same relationship that I built and that other people build with their mailing list if you wait to build your mailing list a week before your book comes out. Mm-hmm. If you enter 6 of these giveaways I'm in and get 30,000 new subscribers the week before your book comes out, you're not gonna have the same results I have, just because people don't know you and they don't care. So, start marketing today, make your social media today, start branching into Facebook ads. And that's a whole nother thing that I'm going to be covering in my course and everything, is how to correctly target Facebook ads and stuff.
Wait, Jessica.
Sorry, it's all complicated.
Yeah, Jessica, I know. Facebook ads is like a whole, but can we,
yes.
Would you possibly be interested in doing another interview?
Oh yeah.
Later.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Because I'm like,
if we wanted to go into a lot of the details,
this is advanced level book marketing, everybody. Like,
but my base level advice for that is start playing with it. Mm-hmm. Start playing with if you don't have a book out yet, and because a lot of what I'm going to be targeting my little marketing course yet is people that either don't have a book out yet or they got 1 book out or 2 books out, and they're just trying to monetize right now. Start playing with it. Start figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. I mean, I didn't think Thunderclap. I don't know if you know what Thunderclap is.
We haven't talked about it. We're going to save it.
Okay.
We're going to save it for the next one.
I will talk about Thunderclap next time. Sorry. But yeah, so just play with, I guess then my general piece of advice would be play with things. Yeah. Fool around with stuff, see what works, see what doesn't. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Do it now.
I love that so much. I love this so much. You guys, Jessica clearly has so much information in her head. To talk about. So much info. And she's like, but we only have 1 hour, which is why she's creating a 7 or 8 hour or whatever course so she can, then you can see she's talking super speed and barely getting all the information out that she wants to get out. And
I apologize. I hope you all can understand me. I know I talk real fast.
No, it's amazing. Okay. So tell us about Ember so that everybody here knows if they're interested.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll try to make that quick. And that's something I can do easy. So Ember is a high fantasy novel set in a world called the Far Land, and which is my created universe. It is set in a world where elves are an extinct race of people that are kind of like a fable that don't really exist anymore, except that they do. And, some people that live out in the country basically think elves are like mythical creatures. But our main character that we follow is an elf, and she doesn't know she's an elf, and she doesn't have memories from before she's like 14 years old. And she, has these adoptive parents, but she like leaves on her journey to go and discover who she is. And then she gets attacked by these werewolf people. And they basically, she has no idea why, but they're hunting her and they won't stop hunting her. And she ends up running for over a year before she encounters the other two main characters. And they basically agree to escort her to the far north, where it said that the fabled elvish capital of the land used to be. And so she's trying to get there to basically see if she can recover her memory. She wants to know who she is and why she's there and why she's an elf. And, elves are very, very unheard of. And so people kind of think she's a monster. And so she has to keep her head covered and stuff. So it's a journey of just self-discovery type thing. Also in this fantasy world. The other two main characters I mentioned have their own whole plot arcs and stuff that I'm not going to get into, but the main character, Ilaria, she's really the centerpiece of where the plot is going.
Okay.
So yeah, so lots of dragons and magic and kitsune familiars and necromancers and fights and everything you can imagine. I shoved as much fantasy into this book as it could take.
Dude, everybody, if you don't know yet, you will know. I have an obsession with books with dragons. So I will myself be going to go purchase Ember shortly. But
thank you.
Because
if you want, are you in America? Are you in the US?
Yeah.
I have like 25 signed copies left that I'm trying to get out. So if I can send you the link if you want.
Yes.
Depending on how many I sell between now and when this podcast comes out, I might make that link exclusive to whoever watches this podcast. If anyone wants a signed copy, if you're in the US, if you're not in the US, we can talk about it, but shipping is expensive.
Dude.
So
yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And where can people find you? Like, where's the best place for people to find you?
So my Facebook and on Twitter accounts, the link is going to be at Echoes Ashes Book. Okay. It's all one, Echoes Ashes Book for Facebook and Twitter. And then my website obviously is the best place to find me. It's where I post everything. I have an art gallery of all my fan art. Everything's there. And that is www.jeschmidt, and Schmidt is SCHMIDT author.com. So jeschmidtauthor.com is the website.
Okay. And
that'll be a link to somewhere y'all can click.
Yeah. And your newsletter sign up is everything on your website. So you guys, there will be a pop-up. You can get the first 3 chapters plus see the art that you had for some of the arts, the 2 arts. So this is really exciting. Okay. I am really appreciative for you and doing this interview. I hope and I'm excited for the next one where we can go deep dive into Thunderclap and Facebook ads.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's make a list and let's schedule it. I'm ready. I would love to continue to talk about this because, this gives me practice and it lets me know and if people have questions, when this one comes out, we can get those together and I can answer questions, anything you want.
Yeah. So. Super exciting. Okay. Okay. So everybody, bosses, thank you for listening. This is Ella here from Author Like a Boss. Hugs and happy authoring.
If you love the Author Like a Boss podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Until next time.